Alrighty, let's put it here. Let's do that. Let's try that one. How's that? Now I will open up a YouTube window. And there we go. See if you can see it. Can you? No. Now, let me tell you something about this Neil Saavedra. He's going live on Instagram at 9 o'clock. So you may feel free to simulcast him if you wish. Yeah, I get the Espanol commercials on iHeart, and I'm going to take a wild stab and say that maybe you live. Where I live in the Antelope Valley, in my zip code. I put on my catching deers hat. But it has to do with location services. So I think this thing, by the way, this fucking thing, this shit is getting cut back halfway tomorrow. I might give my daughter my razor and let her do the honors up here. I might just do a buzz cut, like white side bowls and then like a 1/4 inch. Except I can't fade it. But I just want to look like shirtless bear fighter. So yeah, I'm calling on everyone to unfollow Fork Reporter until 10 p.m. No, I'm kidding. If we can't live, we might as well die. What? I have to be really careful, by the way. I've been letting too much of the bumper run on YouTube live. And what it does is it takes that out. It doesn't post it because I don't have rights to the music to play it on YouTube. So listen close to the super special new intro. In fact, you know what I'll do? I will debut it for you right here. Am I in queue? I am in queue. The Duke of Sports says I'm in queue. All right, this is the new intro for tonight. Just for tonight only. I found some old KFI. This is from 1981.
KFI sure wants you to take the long way home on Sunday, June 14th. That's our big March of Dimes Super Walk Appreciation Day. KC and the Sunshine Band will be doing the music. Loman and Barkley will be there along with John Schneider from the Beach.
Dark Secret Place with Brian Suits on KFI. On KFI. On KFI. On KFI. On KFI. On KFI.
I don't get these people protesting the stay-at-home orders, man. Just get it. Bite the bullet now. Get it done.
Michael Chappé was talking to me when I was playing that. So I didn't hear what he said. Yeah, that's back when KFI played music. It's so funny because he's coming out of the Supertramp song. It's a Big Ron, what's his name? The Night Guy. Coming out of a Supertramp song. Taking the long way home, everybody. How you doing? The big KFI March of Dimes walkathon or whatever it was. I'm really lucky in radio in that I never had to use a fake voice because I couldn't anyway. I've never been a puker. And I only had to use a fake name once since when I started at K-Rock when I was Big Leo. So that's why there's a segment of radio people from K-Rock, KRZQ in Reno, and Rock 104 up in the Central Valley who still call me Big Leo to this day. It's pretty funny. Oh, yeah, that's true. I should do a Rodney Bingenheimer intro. That'd be Godhead.
You all ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn your computer on. And then pretty much the same for Monday. Changes on Tuesday.
That'd be Godhead to do Rodney on the Rock. I should do the entire show tonight. It's Rodney on the Rock, but I'm not going to do that. That would be disrespectful. What that would be. Totally disrespectful. Should I do the first break as Rodney on the Rock?
KFI sure wants you to take the long way home on Sunday, June 14th. That's our big March of Dimes Super Walk Appreciation Day. KC and the Sunshine Band will be doing the music. Loman and Barkley will be there along with John Schneider from the beach.
Dark Secret Place with Brian Suits on KFI. On KFI. On KFI. On KFI. On KFI. On KFI.
KFI AM 640. That's right. KC and the Sunshine Band will be doing the music. Everybody, how you doing? John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. I found that audio today, and it's just precious. From 1981, I had to play it. So there you go. Well, Loman and Barkley will be out there, though. Still, I remember them. When I produced this other morning show, these two idiots on this FM alternative station, Kevin and the Bean, I believe he was called. I used to listen to Loman and Barkley sometimes, but so there you go. That's yeah, I found that on the YouTube earlier today. Anyway, I forgot I was gonna do a really stupid shtick where I was like, "Hey, I'm live from my garage. How does it sound, everybody?" And then I come up and I reveal that I'm actually in Burbank here. But yeah, here, let me play it again.
KFI sure wants you to take the long way home on Sunday.
See, he's coming out of Supertramp. Shunny and Chevy Chevette, everybody. Here's Supertramp. And then coming out of Long Way Home by Supertramp.
KFI sure wants you to take the long way home on Sunday, June 14th. That's our big March of Dimes Super Walk Appreciation Day. KC and the Sunshine Band will be doing the music. Loman and Barkley will be there along with John Schneider from the beach.
So there's, oh my God, KC and the Sunshine Band. They're Godhead. They're amazing. I love them. I met them at the Rock and Roll Denny's. We had some pie with Cher. It was amazing. It was Godhead. So I asked, by the way, streaming at unsheepyourself.com, streaming on YouTube. If you, I have a redirect at unsheepyourself.com. That's the quickest way to get right to the Dark Secret Place YouTube channel. And I am streaming. You do have my permission at 9 p.m. Fork Reporter is doing Instagram Live, and I'm going to be a team player and say, you may watch him. I don't know what's very interesting about some guy sitting there drinking. What? And but listen, listen to me. But yeah, you can watch Niall Saavedra drinking. It'll be amazing. And I'm gonna drop some brand new general public because I ran into Dave Wakeling. No, I have my groups wrong. I'm gonna drop some new English beat, really obscure. I ran into Dave Wakeling at the Country Mart in Malibu, and it was pretty cool. It was really Godhead. He gave it to me on a USB stick. It was really amazing. So anyway, enough of that. Enough old time LA radio, everybody. That's how that goes. Hey, welcome to the Dark Secret Places, your weekly look at the world melting down. And but now, well, the people they're not happy. They're not happy out there. They are in the Michigan. They're protesting, and it's really easy to judge them. Like alleged comedian Patton Oswalt. I shouldn't say that. He is Patton Oswalt's funny. And I'm 1 degree away from him, and I'm friends with his friends, and I know he's a decent guy and the whole thing. But the reason that Anne Frank is trending on Twitter tonight is because of Patton Oswalt. He tweeted this earlier today, quote, Anne Frank spent 2 years hiding in an attic, and we've been home for just over a month with Netflix, food delivery, and video games. And there are people risking viral death by storming state capitol buildings and screaming open Fuddruckers. So that's a big, it's just, here's the thing. I guess, but it's just never going to be time for Anne Frank jokes. It's just, and again, folks, just for the record, she was ratted out by the Dutch. So F them. You want to end the tour early when you go to Amsterdam at the Anne Frank house? Drop that little factoid to the tour guide, and that'll be the end of your tour, sir. Thank you very much. But that's just a pro tip. If you have so much time on your hands that you go to the Anne Frank house, then you're not Amsterdaming correctly. You're not Netherlandsing correctly. Let me tell you. So anyway, so that's this big Anne Frank comedy, and it didn't age well. So this happened today. Earlier, wait, was it yesterday? Corbin was down there in Huntington Beach yesterday, right? Yeah. So here it was yesterday in Huntington Beach, and then in Michigan a couple days ago. And of course, it disturbs people in Manhattan to see American citizens with a loaded AR-15 slung over their shoulder or carried in front of them, not with their hands on it, weapon on safe, unloaded. It scares them because it's an ugly black gun. It's evil. Look at the evil features, the pistol grip and the whole thing. It was very, very scary. And in states like Michigan and Washington and Oregon, in fact, California is surrounded by states where you can walk around doing open carry. And Manhattan is not one of them. New York is not one of them. And it scares people, and they see that. But you have to understand that the governor of Michigan is really going full speed against the guns. That's what people who are protesting are most concerned about, is that she's taking this opportunity, to shut down gun stores and the whole thing. And to be honest with you, I still don't know what the hell's going on in this state. All I know is you're not going to win. You might temporarily win, but the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights of the U.S. Constitution. And you need a presidential declaration of emergency, more than the one that he's done to stop that. I mean, like nationwide martial law. And it's apparently about week 3 of much of the American media discovering federalism. This is exactly what was done in 1918. By the way, the President Woodrow Wilson did not drop the hammer on the United States. First of all, he was in bed because he had a stroke, and his wife was the de facto president. But there was no CDC. 1918 was part of the reason eventually there was a CDC, but there was no nationwide coordination for a couple of reasons. But number one was because down there at the lower levels, at the county and state level, they knew better what was going on. And there were entire places in the United States where the influenza A of 1918, incorrectly called the Spanish flu, didn't touch. Now, overall, everywhere had death and had sickness, but there were places, just like right now, Wyoming. I don't believe Wyoming has had a death yet. I'm not sure. South Dakota, North Dakota. They have cases, but I don't believe any deaths. But just like in 1918, because of the sparseness of the population, the paucity of people, they didn't have the infection rate of, a dense urban area like New York. And I'm sorry, you can sit there, you can agitate all about Trump, but believe me, the president of the United States during a pandemic is not the emergency mayor of New York. He is not. The mayor of New York is supposed to be the mayor of New York. Yes, the guy who said at Chinese New Year, everyone come on down and have fun, and made fun of it and is being hit hard. So this is called federalism. And I'll tell you who's not complaining about that is Gavin Newsom. Through a couple coincidences, he's done very well as governor. One of the big coincidences is that he does have strong county leadership in this state. And you're here, by the way, the infection rate in LA County, we far and above lead the rest of the state. And if LA County was its own state, I think we would be the 4th fatal state alone. San Francisco County Mayor London Breed up there, she allowed the homeless to just stay in place. And then, there's the statewide shelter in-house order. So she allowed the homeless to stay in place. So there has not been some explosion. Now they're trying to suddenly move the homeless into hotels or whatever. You heard Gavin Newsom talking about this, the motels, Operation Keep Motel 6 from bankruptcy. That's what they should call it. Call it Operation Room Key. No, they call it Operation Heroin Shed, or Shoot Shack or whatever. So Motel 6, looking at their options where nobody is traveling. They took this government contract because one is more than zero. If you're making money, you're making money. And so there's that happening. But here in LA County, the homeless in the city of LA, Garcetti's moving them into the rec centers. That's been going on for about 3 weeks. And guess what? Guess what's a lagging indicator? Yes, symptoms. So it's been 2 weeks or so since a large mass of homeless have been moving into your rec centers from Van Nuys to wherever, and now they're symptomatic, and there will be more. Today we had was today a record death day in California or LA County? Just in LA County. So it's on. Again, death is a lagging indicator as well. So if you couldn't see this coming, then maybe you didn't listen to my January 25th broadcast with the fictional CDC year 2021 final report on the coronavirus outbreak in California. And if you didn't, you know what? We're going to replay it in the third hour because it's been 3 months now. And I made a week after I did it, a bunch of people said, "Hey, replay that," because I guess iHeartRadio is too hard to manipulate or something. I don't know. And I made a big mistake about something very radio. And I won't get into it. But I just want to assure anyone listening who happens to be in management here at KFI, that mistake has been overcome. And so we're going to play a clean version of it in the third hour. And the Duke of Sports, if it's if it's anyone's fault, it's the Duke of Sports' fault. But no, we discussed it. I did, as you said, I did it from the correct raw files, cut it up, so there shouldn't be a problem. You have my word on it. I'm a man of my word. I had to see that the other night. What is that? Dark Knight Rises. Right? Or The Dark Knight. That's the Heath Ledger Joker. The Dark Knight. Dark Knight. Batman Rises was the first Christian Bale one. Dark Knight Rises was the second one, which is, as far as I'm concerned, of the entire canon of Batman, the one with Heath Ledger is the home run. So, yeah. It is because of him. And Christopher Nolan. They should have stopped making Batmans when Christopher Nolan stopped making the Batmans. But it was great. I don't mind the third one with Bane. I can kind of take it or leave it. It kind of drags. But the one with the Joker just has so many classic scenes. So it's a tangent night. When we come back, I'm going to tell you one big difference. The one reason people are very agitated in the year 2020, and we're not in the fall of 1918, there's one big difference. Some would say mistake. But I'll tell you what that is. When we come back, it is the Dark Secret Place, and a NATO Navy has been kneecapped by the COVIDs. COVIDs have crippled a major NATO Navy. I'll tell you about that and more stuff when we come back. It is the Dark Secret Place. Brian sits here streaming at Unsheep Yourself, at Dark Secret Place in the Twitter machine, streaming at Unsheep Yourself. So join us, would you please? And I have it running here, and I can answer questions in between peeing during the commercial breaks, like now. It is KFI M640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chabet with the news. All right, MSP. I'll be right back. Let me make sure it doesn't flop. All right, hang on. Right back. BRB. Stand by. Peeing. I should just bring a Gatorade bottle in here.
New COVID-19 testing sites are on the way next week in LA County. Whittier, Bell, Montebello, sure people in lower income areas have access to testing. Check out the drive on the 710 next.
You can't use your timeshare. They're closing the resorts, canceling reservations, and preventing owners from booking new reservations. Meanwhile, you're forced to keep paying maintenance, mortgage, and assessment fees. And forget about even getting there to begin with. Does your timeshare company care? Of course not. They're taking advantage of you. It's not right, and you want out. Whether you bought decades ago or days ago, Timeshare Freedom Group can help. Timeshare Freedom Group's freedom process has helped thousands of people just like you get free from their overpriced, unavailable timeshares. We're the leaders in the industry with decades of experience canceling timeshares worldwide, legally and permanently. And we offer a 100% money-back guarantee. Start the freedom process now by calling Timeshare Freedom Group at 844-98-FREEDOM. That's 844-98-FREEDOM. 844-98-FREEDOM. TimeshareFreedomGroup.com.
Alrighty. Or a Mickey's wide mouth. The mistake was this. When we transmit,
So if we slowly reopen crap and shit goes south, I don't think that the next round of stay at home is going to work.
No, but they should have said keep your masks. They should have said use masks 3 months ago. That was a federal fuck up.
Did you see the CNN thing where the guy was saying the words "stay healthy" with mask and without mask, and all you can see the droplets come out just by speaking.
No,
it was scary.
So when we transmit a inaudible tone that you can't hear, but every radio station across the country has a unique inaudible tone, and it's for the new way of rating radio listening is called the personal people meter, the PPM, right? So KFI transmits a tone that you can hear, but the PPM can hear, so it knows what radio station you're on. Well, when I replayed that the first time, we have a logger, as it's called. All the audio from KFI goes into two files. One of them is every 15 minutes. The other one is hour. If you rebroadcast the every 15-minute one, you're double transmitting that tone. And what the company that runs it does is they will ding you for that. So you don't get that hour isn't rated. So, whatever. I mean, Dark Sacred Place is number one in LA for 3 hours. It's the only non-music show in LA to be number one on Saturday nights. So
Fasciitis, blindness, hammer toes, terrible balance. Does your posture need improvement? Good Feet arch supports could be the solution. Good Feet has been in business helping people get out of pain and improve
how much time?
for 28 years. There are no shots, no
340.
Oh,
patients, just relief. Think about it. Your feet are the foundation of your body. If your feet are out of alignment, your ankles, knees, hips, back, spine, your whole body is out of alignment. The Good Feet technology places your feet in the ideal position to help
we're going with Disco Inferno
you with balance, comfort.
by the Tramps, everybody.
You can use a little support during these challenging times. Good Feet are
Oh, you know what? I should do some.
Good Feet
That's dope. You got the live stream going.
leg and back relief. Good Feet can improve
What's that?
people's lives.
It's really cool. You have the live stream going. I pulled it up.
Yeah, I used to do it every week, and I kind of slacked off in March.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
And then I open a window over here, and I can interact with the chat because I can't fuck with the.
These are challenging times for everyone, but student success is a top priority at community colleges.
There we go. Got him. Who is sick of the "we're all in this together"?
We've increased our shelter capacity by 30%, and we are feeding more than 8,000 people every day. Help us to continue to meet this need. Go to
I know. I'm gonna hold off on Disco Inferno. We're gonna ease into it. I'm not gonna ram it home just right off the bat.
minutes.
We're gonna ease into it.
The long hours, nights, the miles traveled, and the
Like in Me, Myself, and Irene. I was gonna just ram it home. I was gonna ease into it.
brands and our customers.
What's the dimmer? What do you mean?
Ralph's, fresh for everyone.
Ralph's is now hiring, with immediate openings available to help keep our stores open and stocked.
Oh my God. Love, love, love. LA love. What the fuck?
This is Joanne Jenkins, CEO of AARP. The coronavirus continues to and we are here actively supporting you and your community. Every day we're providing trusted information from top health experts, sharing tools to help protect families from fraud, and creating resources to support family caregivers everywhere. As always, you can count on AARP to advocate for you and your family. Join us and stay connected.
Well, I love
/coronavirus.
Walk Like a Camel from Southern Culture on the Skids, but pardon me, it is kind of a disco night.
that you can try for free right now at babbel.com. Babbel's lessons are just 15 minutes or less, and you can go at your own pace. You'll be amazed at how easy Babbel makes it. Start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free.
Elton John is, so I don't get it. This global citizen thing is not,
babbel.com.
it looks, I guess it's, a bunch of them are pre-taped.
Coronavirus Update, a daily podcast bringing you the latest on what to know about the global pandemic we are facing. There's a lot of information going around about how the virus spreads, possible treatments, and best practices to keep you and your family healthy. It's more important than ever to follow this fast-moving story and avoid misinformation so you can keep up to date and make informed decisions. iHeartRadio is #1 for podcasts, but don't take our word for it. Daily Coronavirus Update on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I used to spend the toilet paper like I was on Wheel of Fortune. Now I spend it like I'm cracking a safe. Stop. Happy quarantine. KFI.
KFI AM 640. It is a dark secret place. I know I'm the hook killer. I just do that because it's a goof. There you go. Call me Captain Hook. Shelly and 77. They'll be up there at Magic Mountain. Hey, it is the Dark Secret Place, live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. And Dark Secret Place, by the way, I haven't gone back far enough, but as near as I can see, it's 6 months and counting that Dark Secret Place is in the top 100 of iHeartRadio's podcasts. And iHeartRadio curates all the podcasts, gazillions of them. I mean, literally several 100,000 podcasts. And we do a rating that comes out every Tuesday. And Dark Secret Place is consistently in the top 100. This week I was, oh my gosh, I was sandwiched between Ryan Seacrest. Total Seacrest sandwich. It was his daily show, and then he does some weekly thing. So I was like 78, and he was 77 to 79. So I was in a sandwich. And it's because of all you people who downloaded it, everybody. So that's cool. So here's the deal. It's 2020. You're seeing people whose livings have been kneecapped. They, especially in the service industry down here in Southern California. As I said 2 months ago, see you on the other side, and you're not going to recognize LA in 60 days. And what I mean? It's. I think it's hit. A lot of businesses are not going to be back. And here's the thing: this is almost like Atlas Shrugged. For a lot of banks, they make money loaning money, and for small business, they're going to have to either forgive loan payments or extend the loans or something, but they're not going to make money if all these businesses default. and go bankrupt. And so there's going to be a reckoning. There has to be, because this, part of the reason when people, it annoys me when people say this is unprecedented, but in one way it is unprecedented, is that in 1918, the flu originated in Haskell, Kansas, in April of 1918. American soldiers took it over to Europe. It was called the trench cough by the Brits and the French, and even the Germans got it on the other side of no man's land, and it sort of came and went by the summer. By July of 1918, no one was really seeing these, and besides, it wasn't that deadly. When it came back in September, it had mutated, and it was lethal. It was lethal to working age people and younger. That influenza A from 1918 was very lethal to working people between 20 and 40, and also kids. So there's a reason schools were closed. There was a very measurable reason. But what we did not do, and keep in mind, this is something that's lethal to working age people, 20 to 40. What we did not do in Los Angeles County, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, all up and down the West Coast, New York, throughout the United States, nobody shut the economy down, which is effectively what a safer at home, shelter in place policy does, and declaring things essential and non-essential, the whole thing. There was a recommendation that if you serve the public, you wear a mask. September 1918, second wave of flu emerges between September and November. A second wave of flu peaks in the U.S. The second wave is highly fatal, responsible for most of the deaths attributed to that pandemic. New York City's Board of Health adds flu to the list of reportable diseases, requires all flu cases to be isolated at home or in a city hospital. By the end of September, more than 14,000 flu cases are reported in Boston, where the second wave originated. 14,000 soldiers, of that 757 died. The 1918 flu pandemic killed 195,000 Americans in October alone, right? But we didn't shut the country down. There was a shortage of nurses, things like that. Chicago closes theaters, movie houses, and night schools. Cold storage plants are used as temporary morgues. A manufacturer of trolley cars donates 200 packing crates for use as coffins. San Francisco's Board of Health requires any person serving the public to wear masks and issues strong recommendations to all residents to wear masks in public. But you'll notice they didn't ask you to stay at home and shut businesses down. That's the big difference. And that's why people are going ape-ass about it. If you're not a wealthy Manhattanite and you get to judge people in Michigan, then you somewhere you have a job. And what is really annoying about this, we'll come back. I'll talk about this filling in of skate parks, of the cohort of people least affected by this virus. More on this in just a second. It's the Dark Secret Place. Streaming at unsheepyourself.com. Back in a second, KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news. Yeah, I'm here to tell you that here in California, stay at home. If you test positive, stay at home. I don't mind that. If you want to go out in public or work at a store, whatever, wear a mask. If you go out in public, please wear a face covering, whatever. That's where I would be with this right now. And also don't interact with the homeless. And that's where Garcetti's mistake was. He should have cordoned off downtown LA. So, that Brian Denny, kind of the smear on him, Brian Denny, real life was a Marine, okay? But he never deployed to Vietnam. He was a Marine in the 60s, active duty Marine, but he never deployed to Vietnam. But later on, he told people he was a Vietnam veteran. He didn't say Vietnam era veteran. He said Vietnam veteran. So, Jesus, it's just shitty to do. Even Pat Sajak, deployed to Vietnam. But if you didn't deploy to Vietnam, you call yourself a Vietnam era veteran. You know, there were hundreds of thousands of GIs who went to Germany, you know, they went to West Germany.
The latest White House numbers show a U.S. death rate lower than those in 6 European countries, including Italy, Spain.
And my old congressman, Jim McDermott, total piece of shit, was a, a psychiatrist, an MD psychiatrist. And he used to call himself a Vietnam veteran, and he allowed the Puget Sound Vietnam veterans to honor him, and he was in a parade, and he would call himself a Vietnam veteran. And after 9/11, he was so against the war in Afghanistan up in Seattle. He went in front of this high school, Roosevelt High School, and he made up a story. He was talking about, oh, you crowds, you're going to be the ones that are going to fight this war, and I don't want you to go to war. War's really bad. I helped load body bags in Vietnam. He fucking said that. It was on tape. And I had him on the air on KVI in Seattle. And I asked him flat out, are you a Vietnam veteran or a Vietnam era veteran? And he just laughed about, oh, you're all spun up about one word. And I said, it's like guilty or not guilty, asshole. Because anyone who served in the Navy or Marine Corps knows that the notion of a naval officer doing physical labor, much less a naval doctor, an MD, doing physical labor, like loading body bags. And by the way, we didn't transport people home in body bags. They were in coffins. They were in stackable coffins. So anyway, he was a piece of shit.
Are they doing anything to make sure this thing doesn't come back and mutate?
Well, the only thing you can do is just not spread it. So that's that's the Vietnam era thing, and Brian Denny, he could have said, hey, I was in the Marines, I was in Japan, I never deployed, I stood ready, or whatever. But he didn't. He said he was a Vietnam veteran, which,
This is my diamond, and I guarantee my plumber will show up on time and smell good, or your house call is free.
SoCal 11 KFI lows in the 50s, cloudy right on through tomorrow.
Let me get Disco Inferno ready to go. See, I'm getting an Espanol YouTube ad. Sprintya.com. All right. Yeah.
Donate your car today with 1-877 Cars for Kids. We're a recognized 501c3 charity organization, so you'll receive a maximum tax deduction. What's more, you'll receive a vacation voucher of 3 days included.
Oh, really?
Also on the web at
Ernie Pyle killed on this date on Aishima, which was an island adjacent to Iwo Jima. The army had invaded Aishima, and it was infested with Japanese. I don't think Ice-T was special forces.
Putting your needs first with years of experience doing hundreds of millions for our clients. The Sweet James priority is you. We're here to support and guide you if you've been hurt in any sort of accident. We're available 24/7. From the entire Sweet James team, stay safe.
Yeah, the COVID-19 coronaviruses don't mutate the way that influenzas do. And that's where the influenza A of 1918, Highway 61 filling stations pointing this out. That's the good news, is that these don't mutate the way that influenzas do. Like H1N1, back in 2009, was mutating left and right. But it was not as contagious as this. This is sort of the secret sauce of the COVIDs, is that it incubates, it spreads and incubates.
Team members, the guests, tribal families, and community, the Morongo casinos have been temporarily closed.
So
We look forward to joining you at
a mutation of this coming back is probably not going to happen.
Wash those hands.
For official rules and more information,
Did you brush your hair before that video conference with coworkers? Congratulations. You've earned your KFI Shut-In Hairstyling Merit Badge. KFI AM 640 or Stimulating
See, it's the Tramps, 2 M's, the Tramps, who are probably in a rec center near you. Van Nuys, shout out. KFI AM 640, it is the Dark Secret Place, live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. Shunny and Chevy Chevy, everybody. I guess I only really kind of know the chorus, but someone sings at some point, don't they? Oh, there you go. It is a Disco Inferno. Streaming at unsheepyourself.com. Dark Secret Place, we'll talk about the NATO Navy crippled by the COVIDs. The COVIDs got on one of their most important capital ships. There's COVIDs all over, kind of like us, but the USS Roosevelt is going to be up to snuff apparently very soon. That's the whole thing about quarantine. By the way, 1919, November 1918, Salt Lake City officials placed quarantine signs on front and rear doors of 2,000 homes where occupiers have been struck with flu. Occupants have been struck with flu. That is the big difference between 1918 and right now. They didn't shut business down. That was not even a debate. That didn't even come up. But here we have fallen in love with quarantine, and that's why I said back on January 25th, that if you know the history, if you know the lessons of 1918, then you know the reason for the expression "go ugly early" when it comes to a pandemic is that you burn it out. So if you were going to do this, it should have happened in late January. And of course, if any president, no matter what the media says, they were nowhere near even close to how serious this pandemic was going to be in January. It was not on anybody's radar but me. And if you'd made that call, if you'd said, hey, America, 2 weeks off, end of January, first week of February, 2 weeks off, early spring break, take a pause, essentials only, masks on. Okay, that would have been one way to go, right? And then if you are infected and you're below the age of 65, stay at home, and we'll call you. That would have been politically unacceptable. It wouldn't have been a kick to the balls to the economy, but there's an old fatalistic saying in the world of pandemics, and that is there's no glory in prevention. You know, you can't suddenly in March say, well, if we hadn't done that, there would have been 40,000 dead by April 18th. My wife's defense, essential oils, all natural with tea tree. Well, that sounds effective, but it is apparently. But and that's why they say in epidemiology that there's no glory in prevention. You know, you can't say, wow, I just saved the world 50 million deaths because I cordoned off Haskell, Kansas in April of 1918. And I prevented this thing from getting to Europe and then coming back to America and then hitting the world and killing between 50 and 100 million people. You can't do that. And politically, you're crying wolf. But in 1918, we did know something, that you can't grind the economy to a halt. And so it was masks for everybody. If you're sick, stay home. Don't come to the hospital and get everybody else sick. And again, the difference there was it was very contagious, primarily from nose droplets, from snot lockerage and food holish. So we masked up. That was what happened back in February and March when they were poo-pooing wearing face coverings. You know what? That's where I blame you for not using your common sense. You know, did you really have to wait for the federal government to do that? But there's a lot of people that do. Nobody, back in 1918, a lot of people didn't have to wait. When they said, hey, folks, wear a mask, there were people that resisted. They're called idiots. But and they probably died when they were thrown in jail. But we didn't shut the economy down because, like I said, that wasn't even a starter. So now we're doing stupid stuff like this. You saw footage of where was the skate park? Santa Monica that they filled in with sand. That's right. Venice is LA, and I'm sure Santa Monica is going to do it too. But getting these bobcats to pile sand into the skate parks because people were using the skate parks, that is just pure assholery. Because what we know about COVID-19 is that it's virtually harmless to people under 20. And I don't know if you've been to the skate park lately where the kids or hang out with their, as they say, hang out with their chums, as they say, and they get rad and things like that. They're not vulnerable for COVID-19. I mean, granted, they're not. Well, then don't spread it. Put that sign up. And that's the other thing is, okay, wear a mask. That's what I would say is skate park open, wear a mask. But this should be really simple. If you are over 65, stay home. Stay home and try to stay in the back bedroom, or whatever. Someone will bring you food and the whole thing. If you're under 65, wear a mask. Go out, wear a mask. Well, and yeah, but again, when they get home, stay away from anyone over 65. That's what I would be saying. And when you go out, go get your oil changed, go test drive a car, but wear a mask. If you are symptomatic, self-quarantine at home. But all of this, the two things that I look back with what I know about pandemics, and I say that yes, the emphasis in January should have been we better mass produce an S load of tests because that is how we're going to prevent having to shut down the economy. And then secondly, advise that people wear masks and then just go to work normally. But that's not what happened. And I'm here to tell you, it's got nothing to do with Trump defunding some pandemic specialist unit or whatever. There's no president that would have seen that coming. And if you haven't heard the National Center for Medical Intelligence, I'll tell you about them next hour. But it's interesting. They didn't even sound the alarm till late January. So why didn't that get on Trump's desk? Anyway, it's easy to look back. Hindsight is really, really easy. I have a bit of a different credibility on this one. And we'll replay the January 25th, 2021 CDC final report here in the third hour tonight. But when we come back, yes, the NATO Navy is crippled. And what is the National Center for Medical Intelligence? You've never heard of that one, have you? We'll come back right after this. Streaming at unsheepyourself.com. Unsheepyourself.com. That's the how you get to the YouTube channel. And at Dark Secret Place on the Tweeter machine. Brian Suits here, Dark Secret Place, for your 18th of April 2020, KFI M640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news.
Governor Newsom says the state has secured more than 10,000 motel and hotel rooms to house the homeless during the COVID-19 crisis. The governor also said some communities have pushed back on the effort called Project Room Key to put homeless people in their areas. More than half of the nursing homes reporting COVID-19 cases in the state are in LA County. Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer says she's asked the state and the federal government for help to control the spread of the virus in many facilities. Health officials in Riverside County report 145 new cases of coronavirus and 5 more related deaths, bringing the countywide totals to 2,602 cases.
Upcoming, you know what I generally do, Hobie Gary, is I do a live show at Dave & Buster's, so that's going to be a while. Live shows like in Orange or Irvine or Monrovia. There's a new one in the Valley, but I have a relationship with the Dave & Buster's, and hopefully they're still in business. So, so that's how that works. There's the AR-15 Hello Kitty. Kennedy is back on Fox. She's on Outnumbered. And I'm not sure when her show starts back up. I know they want to start it back up. It does really well, by the way. Kennedy and Fox Business does really well. They like it a lot. They like me on it. Nah, I'm in a disco mood, and I hate that One Night in Bangkok song. Who is Fraser Smith? Yes, they do. They do make a solvent trap for 30 caliber. 5.56 caliber. The threading is 1/2 by 28, and then I forgot on the common threading on 30 caliber is whatever it is, 5.8 by 32. I forgot, but anyway, they do. That's what my solvent trap is for 30 caliber, and it it fits perfectly, and it reduced, 5.8 by 24, and it reduced my solvent by between 30 and 40% because I did a test solvent. I recorded it on my little sound recorder, and then I did it with the solvent trap. And when I put it into a program, into Adobe Audition, I could see by the waveform that it reduced it by about 30%, 30 to 40%. But I'm firing subsonic ammunition, so that it's like give the solvent trap a chance. You do yourself a big favor if you're sending subsonic through it to begin with. If you send normal ammo, like 300 blackout, a 110 grain bullet, that's a really hot bullet. Yes, Funky Town it is. I just remembered. That's got a great hook. So yeah, if you're shooting a hot bullet, your results may vary from that solvent trap. Yeah, I got to get right to the chorus. I'm going to play the pseudo echo one. Oh, wow. You know what? I might play Venus from Bananarama. Oh, yeah. I forgot. That's a great song. All right. It is Erasure. Hello. Richard Blyde here. In studio next hour, Erasure. We're going to be at Tower Records in Hollywood with Erasure. What do you say?
2 minutes.
Okay. With Erasure. One time I was driving back to Oxford and I picked up a hitchhiker and his name was Richard as well. We talked about music for an hour and that young man turned out to be Richard Branson. True, that's a true story. I'll be out West Covina, the Safari Bar with lots of K-Rock goodies. I went to those gigs with fucking Blade, man. Those were nuts. As a single young man in LA, being Richard Blade's wingman in 1992, or being Jed the Fish's wingman at the Hollywood Palace. Fuck.
Ralph's is now hiring, with immediate openings available to help keep our stores open and stocked. Apply today.
That was crazy.
Ralphs.com.
Just what I needed after the Gulf War, by the way. Oh. And we have the safari about my friend Big Leo from the Kevin and Bean Show. He'll spin some of his favorite hits as well. He'll take the mic. Richard used to do 2 gigs a night on a fucking Friday or on a Thursday. He would do 2 gigs a night. He would do an 8 o'clock gig, and then he would do a midnight gig. And he made so much money doing that. We had a Morrissey lookalike contest down in Orange County. Richard had a Morrissey lookalike contest, right? And we promoted it all week long. The whole punchline was that one of the guys in line was Morrissey, and he didn't fucking win it. True story. Yeah, he still is he's a great DJ. Oh, I hit that. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. It is the Dark Secret Place, a very, very serious show for serious people playing serious music. Live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. By the way, fun fact, they didn't write this song. It was a cover. It was a cover from the 60s. Turns out they had day jobs. Bananarama were models. It is good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no one wore the torn jeans like middle Bananarama. I have no clue what any of their real names were. They were huge. The blonde one, the tallest one in the middle. No. No, and they came out. They did gigs in LA. They were big. Yeah. And someone and you know, I get the feeling that the Spice Girls were not organically their own group. You know what? Yeah, okay. Next, we'll do a Spice Girls back. The National Center for Medical Intelligence is part of the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, right? The largest intelligence agency is the NSA, approximately 5 to 6 times bigger than the CIA. You know all about the CIA, but you don't hear much about the NSA. They don't work for each other. They do work for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the ODNI, who also coordinates defense intelligence. But the DIA, the Pentagon, gets to work for the Pentagon. DIA worked for the Pentagon. Within the DIA, you have the National Center for Medical Intelligence. And this is a several hundred virologists, epidemiologists, and doctors, and lab techs, and investigators work for the National Center for Military Intelligence, because this is a civilization killer. This is a no S, hands down, yes, no, green, red. Is there a pandemic that's going to wipe us out coming? They are, in case of crap, break glass. If the fecal material hits the rotary air circulation device, they are supposed to know about it. You've never heard of them, right? And so one of the things they do, and one of the things that I do, this is the great thing about the year 2020, is what's called OSINT, open source intelligence. The Chinese, by late December and early January, even though everything is firewalled in China, they were not able to keep all the TikTok out of Wuhan. And as the Chinese got more and more draconian about going out and all that, people started sending TikToks of them being welded into their apartments, the whole thing. And the DIA operates their own satellites, the whole thing. So when the national, because this is something that the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, doesn't have satellites. They can make a request, but they don't have satellites, and they don't know that they have a need for them. They wouldn't know what to do with satellite data anyway. The National Center for for Medical Intelligence, they have imagery interpreters. So why do they need satellite imagery? Well, they want to see, are people fleeing an epidemic area, an outbreak area? So early on in January, they saw that people were leaving Wuhan. They could see this because there's publicly available imagery of CO2, of carbon monoxide, of sulfur, of methane. There's satellites that do nothing but analyze the spectrum of urban areas, and they were able to access that, and they could see that not only were the streets emptying, but they were getting emptier. They could see a bunch of things, plus the open source. By late January, the National Center for Medical Intelligence they report to the DIA, and the Defense Intelligence Agency reports to the Pentagon. So the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was made aware that this obscure little agency had pointed a finger to what could be one of those once-in-a-century events that Ebola never could be, because it was just too virulent. It was too good for its own good, too deadly for its own good. It killed the host before he or she could infect 3 or 4 or 5 more people. That's what a virus needs to do. It needs to stay alive long enough for you to infect 3 or 4 more people. Because, again, it wants to stay alive too, right? The enemy gets a vote. So they bring that to the chairman, who is the direct conduit from the Pentagon to the Oval Office. So what happens next? And NATO Navy crippled by them COVIDs. Hour number 2, if you get on sheepyourself.com, I am taking requests. It is a Dark Secret Place all-night dance party, so I am taking requests, and I've got lots of KFI goodies. I've got keychains, I've got party towels, and all that. So I'll be throwing them to the crowd as we're spinning the discs here for hour number 2 of the Dark Secret Place. KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
We were practicing social distancing way before it was cool. WLST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Sad milestone. Michael Suraylock with the KFI 24-hour newsroom. LA County has had its deadliest day since the outbreak of COVID-19. County Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer says 81 more people have died, bringing the death toll to 576.
Of all of the people who have died in LA.
Yeah, there is a station, $1.98 gas. There is a station that has a cash, versus debit price in Tehachapi. And 87 octane, or wait, is it 87? Yeah. 87 octane was 197 cash the other day. And that's where I don't need much of an excuse to drive to Tehachapi. I like to drive. And they got my favorite Tractor Supply is up there. And so I always, if I'm low on gas, I will pop up to Tehachapi and up there in Kern County. And by the way, the conventionalism up there is that the COVIDs hit way back in December or January. There is not a mask rule in Kern County. So I don't recall that we invaded Kuwait. You might be leaving a certain party out. Yeah. Our air is so clean now in California that entire scam about the California summer and winter fuel blend, that fucks us over so big. Yeah, I go there too, by the way, fast food Guido. Lebec, named after Pierre Lebec, killed by Dabert in 1831, right down the road there at Fort Tejon. Yeah, that Flying J is super cheap. What? What?
A Newsweek article talking about 3 types of coronavirus, A, B, and C, all of the COVID-19.
I ain't seen that. Oh, he's in the middle of a newscast and he talks to me. Who loves my crimson and gray reading glasses? Cougars.
Yeah, it was a Newsweek article. It's very interesting. Kind of maybe suggesting
1.25.
why some people are getting worse than others.
No, WSU, the Washington State University. Let's see. What did I shoot today? Oh, I did. I found this brand. This is a great brand of subsonic 22 made in England called Ely, E-L-E-Y. I'd never heard of them. And there's a kind of a newish gun shop in Lancaster,
So Cuomo had it. He seems to be okay.
like a mile south of Costco, right off the 14. And I went in and said, "Hey, I need subsonic 22," and that's what they had. And I bought like 2 big 500 round things, and I love it because it's right. It's I want to say it's like 1250 feet per second. It's just under sonic, and so it's a very, very accurate subsonic round. I mean, like out to 50 and 75 meters. Because even though I lead up and compensate for the bullet drop, I've been shooting rabbits in the head when I'm trying to get their body because it's that hot, but it's still a silent round because of the solvent trap. Drop in. I love that CMMG kit that you pull out the bolt from an AR and you drop that thing in, and then it comes with its own magazine. The only problem is it can be shipped to California, but it must be the 10 round mag. You know, it's not a firearm. I've shot Tokarev once in Bosnia, actually from a Papasha, from a Russian submachine gun. We got it at a raid, and then we took it out to a range, and you know, you thing is robust as shit. It was, you know, that thing was so goddamn good that all right, I'm good. You know, the Germans in Stalingrad would pick up Papashas because their Schmeissers, the MP38, wasn't working. But that thing, I mean, you couldn't get it to jam, just like an AK. That's a new intro. Hey now, KFI M640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. It is hour number 2 of the Dark Secret Place. And I do, the president's news conference, it was scheduled for 2 p.m. Pacific. It was put off a little bit, but I did catch it. And he had 2 acts. He had the first act, and then he handed off to Hans Bricks. I'm sorry, to Dr. Burks. And she had some factoids coming at you. But I have some Trump highlights here. He had some pointed words for Nancy Pelosi, who is overlooking the ocean. But here's a little bit of this is Trump describing his COVID test. Hey, sounds like my proctologist, everybody. How you doing? Oh, I don't have a rim shot. Yeah, so he's describing the test that he was on. He had the Abbott test, and then that Nancy Pelosi is sitting on now that the one bailout bill, your $1,200 check thing, that thing is the small business thing is out of money, and it was the small businessman I know who tried to get on there and make it work. He gave up. But here is Trump on Pelosi. Oh wait, no, he's talking about Maggie Haberman of the New York Times. Very Al Capone-like there. And then here he is on your Nancy Pelosi, Democratic Congress woman from the San Francisco. I just had to do that. So, by the way, for the record, her house is they're in the middle of Pacific Heights, and for the record, she overlooks the bay, which does, of course, open up to the ocean. But just the image of her just sitting there, pinky out, sipping tea while you go broke. So there you go. He didn't actually say effing overlooking the ocean, but I think he was thinking it. You know what I got to find? He flubbed Fauci's name. He flubbed Dr. Fauci's name, and his name is Tony Fauci. He called him Phony Fauci, and I know it was an accident, but it was great. It's going to feed all kinds of conspiracy theories. Let me find Dr. Birx, because one of her roles now is to be the designated China caller outer. She has the credibility as an epidemiologist, infectious disease expert, and all that for knowing how a rational modern country is supposed to perform if there is an outbreak. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Cut him off. He throws it. He does a toss. He hands the baton to Dr. Birx. Yeah, that could have been you, China. It could have been you. But that's the reason that they're doing this, is because China has a full court press disinformation campaign going on. So yeah, they did add by 50%. They did double what they claim is the honest death toll out of Wuhan. The Chinese still claim, as of yesterday, that they only had 3,500 deaths from the COVIDs. And yes, on the face of it, ludicrous. And they said, oh, okay, well, we miscounted some of the deaths, and so 50% more in Wuhan. It's still a bald-faced lie. And what the Chinese are mortified about is that the rest of the world isn't buying it. The Chinese tried to blame it on, there's a thing called the International Military Games, the CISM. And they do summer, they do winter. I did a biathlon for them in Vermont once, and all these nations' militaries come around. They send teams. The U.S. sent 178 service members to Wuhan for this back in early December. The Italians have changed. Originally, the Italians said, well, then clearly the Americans brought the COVIDs with them and they dropped it off in Wuhan or whatever. They've changed that now to the Italians. That it was the Italian team that did it. And this is not some wacky official on Twitter or something like that. These are some official media organs of the Chinese Communist Party saying this. And they just can't sell it. And no one is buying it. And you're not hearing this reported in the American media because they're too busy trying to drill down on Trump calling it the Wuhan virus, and all that stuff. But China is not doing well in worldwide media. In Asia, everyone hates them right now because of this. The Italians hate them, the Spaniards hate them, because it is abundantly clear that the Chinese knew way more than they're saying in December. And one of the things about being part of the World Health Organization and being part of the UN, when you sign the UN Treaty and the UN Charter, you're agreeing to be bound by some of the requirements to join certain of the organizations. And the World Health Organization is one of them. That yeah, your money is nice, but one of your requirements is you pledge that if there is a possible pandemic outbreak or epidemic outbreak in your country, that you're going to alert the WHO immediately. And so the Chinese, because they're looking for an angle on everything, like the Soviets used to do, they fund the WHO at a rate of 1/10 of what we fund them for. Again, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are the second biggest funder of the WHO. But the Chinese twist the arms. They don't. You get nothing for free from China, and they have been influencing the WHO for years. To the point where they got the guy who's the current director of the WHO elected because they played leverage with all the voting individuals on the board of the WHO. The Chinese have projects in other countries and all the thing. And that's something that the U.S. doesn't do. We just give them the money and say, do your job. If this happened in Haskell, Kansas, like the 1918 influenza came from, we would tell the WHO, it's what you do. And so the Chinese, if you're unaware of what is the central guiding governance principle of the Chinese Communist Party, it's just like the Soviet Union. Number one, stay in power. Does that mean starving people? If it has to, that's not a priority. Stay in power is the priority. Do not challenge their authority. The Wuhan virus challenged their authority because it made them look incompetent, and they can, and a communist government in their position cannot afford to be made to look ridiculous. And so when we come back, I'll tell you about part of the origin of this and the different world that there could have been if the Chinese had just simply done their job as a rational modern nation instead of reacting like a communist nation. Back right after this. It is the Dark Secret Place live streaming at unsheepyourself.com. That's how you get to the YouTube channel, and then on the Twitter machine at Dark Secret Place. Back in a second. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news. I'll understand if you go to Instagram. I won't like you, but I'll understand. Let me look. Let me look at Neil. Fork Reporter live.
Let's just say that I had a very interesting Armenian dish just a little bit ago, and let's just say we're social distancing when we have to. Let's just put it that way.
He's got Sebastian Gorka on. Steve Gregory's with him.
I hope Lucy kept you for life. She did, actually. Top and bottom.
Okay. You're a dork. Hey,
Let's just.
well, enjoy your three-way.
Okay, pal. You're looking. By the way, you're looking good, buddy. It's good to see you. We haven't seen each other in a while. You're looking fantastic. I heard the show today, and you got interrupted by that president guy. But you look great, and I can't wait to see you in person.
Likewise, pal. We'll tip a glass and bring those two trollops with you. And bye, guys. Love you. See ya.
Where is it?
Okay. So,
It's on your end, not mine.
I
Oh, wait, before I go, Michael Crozier told me I need to find out about the Godfather drink. So if you get your brother back on, ask him to make a Godfather for me. Because Crozier said it's like an amazing drink.
Wow.
The Godfather.
Oh,
Ask your brother.
Brian Suit, who's on right now, on in the background here, should be on with you as well. People should be listening to Suits while we're doing this. He said, "Who were the dames that who were the girls?"
Don't tell them. They don't want to know. They don't want to be identified. Everybody else does.
I don't want to get into all the relationships that go on, but let's just say I married one of them.
Oh, yeah, good point. Good point. Sorry, it took me a second. It took me a minute.
Right, no, I think you have to hang up on me. Or do you?
Yeah, I do.
Press this. I don't. Lock out.
Oh, dude, you know
Lock
I can't
out.
do that on camera.
Lock out.
Are you doing this as my boss?
Yes.
Or are you doing this as my friend?
As your boss, I'm saying lock the F out.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Steve Gregory.
Oh, how much time do we have?
I love it. See you, pal.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that is awesome. Okay, this is my computer. That's not right. Oh, here we go.
All right. I went and dipped in with Neil Saavedra. I know he does. He looks like a troll, baby. Here we go. Shocking Blue, Venus, the original version. Who, me and John Colbill? I believe I've said in 12 years, 13 years at KFI, I believe I've said 5 words to John Colbill. And remember, I used to follow them. I used to be on 7 to 10. So they'd be leaving, I'd be coming in. And I believe I've said a total of like 5 words to John and Ken. You know, it's not like we're all, you know, in a firehouse upstairs and we come down a brass pole and we're all buddy. You know, radio people are very, I'm not going to lie to you, you know, narcissistic. You know, if you don't believe that you should have the job, then you probably shouldn't be in radio. So. I would love to work with Matt. You know, Matt worked at K-Rock also. Matt was the music director at K-Rock for Kevin Weatherly. You know, at that time, me, Jimmy Kimmel, Adam Carolla, um, boy, who else? Kennedy had already left because Mr. TV, Andy Schoen, left for MTV and took Louis Largent and Kennedy with him. And I wanted to stay in radio because he said, "Hey, dude, this is a new thing." Come, and I said, "No, no, I just unpacked my shit. I'm staying here at K Rock in radio." KFI AM 640. It is the Dark Secret Place, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And they're actually playing the instruments. I have a weird feeling they wrote the song too. Anyway, that's never to be heard from again. Shocking Blue, everybody, with Venus. You know what they really needed was two more good-looking women dressed in ratty jeans and sort of a more disco-y beat. But anyway, still that's the original, Shocking Blue. Venus. Well, so how does China do business? How can we stay in power? That's when they wake up, when Xi Jinping, when President Xi, that's what Xi said, wakes up in the morning, his first briefing is, are we still in power? Yes, we are. Okay. Are there any threats to our power? Well, there's several million people following this pseudo religion called Falun Gong. Okay, well, crush them under a tank, and that's simply how it works. When the outbreak happened in Wuhan, and at this point, by the way, I know that there is intelligence indicating that it occurred somewhere outside of Wuhan in a Chinese military lab or civilian lab or whatever. At this point, it doesn't matter. Really, honestly, doesn't matter, because we've pretty much established that the Chinese cocked up the outbreak, that they weren't forthright to the World Health Organization, and that they were more concerned, the local party officials were more concerned with covering their own asses, because that is how they do government. This is entirely predictable. If this happens next year, the same outcome will occur. And the reason is because you don't get promoted calling up to Beijing with bad news. I cannot recommend Chernobyl on HBO enough, because that brilliantly, Craig Mazin, the guy that wrote that screenplay, brilliantly portrayed how something that was bad at the beginning was minimized when the phone call got to Gorbachev. It was we got it covered. Yeah, don't worry, it's just a fire. Well, same with the COVIDs, when it was still just coronavirus, when it was still a novel coronavirus. Even that, it didn't have a name. And it's because in that system, you don't call upstairs with bad news. You don't want to be that guy, period. And so nobody did. And so they weren't given the truth of it in Beijing. And this is the reason, by the way, in early February, President Xi, there were two big canaries in the coal mine for me. One was when North Korea shut their border. You'll recall, if you're a long-time listener, first-time caller, that was a big tell to me, because that's a major revenue route for the North Koreans. Smuggling junk in from China is a big, big deal. For them to shut that border is a big... Oh, there goes the live stream. No, I didn't. I'm kidding. Camera's okay. That was a big, 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 big deal. For the North Koreans who were right there on the border, for them to do that was a big deal. The canary in the coal mine number two. President Xi, because you cannot cover this up, he sacked everybody, every communist official in the city of Wuhan and every official in the province of Hubei. he sacked them all and replaced them because everybody lied to him. He's not a good guy, by the way. He's a bad guy. He wasn't concerned about his people. He was concerned about how come he didn't tell me the truth, because now we have a major PR problem on our hand. And we're going to find a way to blame the Americans or blame the Italians, or whatever. That is how they operate. That if you knew that about the Soviet Union and you know that about China, it suddenly makes everything they do very, very predictable. This is where Putin is very Soviet-like. He really honestly does care about his image. And once you know that, then you understand much about what he's about to do in 6 months or a year from now. Well, same with the Chinese. It's baked into the cake. So if it happened again next year, the same outcome would happen. No official down low is going to call up to Beijing and say, they're not cooking the bats enough, and so the people are getting rare bat soup scrotum diseases or whatever it's going to be next year. Lemur or whatever the hell they're eating in China next year. Because it's baked into the cake. You don't want to be that guy to send bad news up there. And so we've had to piece it together. This is why, very quietly, most of the world, like I say, the Italians, the Spaniards, who are the most dying countries in Europe, they're really pissed at the Chinese. Because had they been given more of a heads up, then they would have quarantined the incoming Chinese workers who fill Italian factories in northern Italy. When they came back after the Lunar New Year, they came back positive, but no one was testing, and they were incubating. And they got to northern Italy and started spreading it around older Italians, and voila, there you go, presto. And the Italians are pissed because if the Chinese had said, hey, heads up, screen people coming from Wuhan, they would have. Quarantine it was an Italian word from quarantine and whatever. They would have done that, but they weren't given a heads up. They're really pissed, and so are the Germans. But the Germans recovered far more quickly. But anyway, I'll tell you a story about. There's a great story about what the Chinese are doing right now, denying, and then feeding talking points to the World Health Organization until the WHO parrots them, and then the Chinese go, look, the WHO said we're transparent. Because we said we're transparent to them for a month, and then they finally come out and said, oh, China's been very transparent. Then they point to that source and go, look, see, they're endorsing us. I'll tell you a really, really funny story about when the Soviet Union did that, about a different subject when we come back. It is a Dark Secret Place live on the YouTube at unsheepyourself.com, unsheepyourself.com. Also on Twitter at Dark Secret Place. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news. How do you like that? That phone fall, huh? I'm sure Rick Dees owns the rights to Disco Duck. I mean, that is his baby. He'd be nobody. He'd still be a, morning show DJ in fucking Nashville or whatever it was. Is this the Jordan documentary?
They released the first 5 minutes of it. It premieres tomorrow night.
Oh, and they're not going to binge it, right? It's going to be once a night or once a week, or what is it?
2 episodes over the next 5 weeks. So 10 episodes, 5 weeks.
Oh. And it's uncensored on ESPN, right?
Uncensored on ESPN, family friendly on ESPN 2.
It's either that's open. No. I guess it doesn't close. All right. MSP. Be right. BRB.
Attention investors. Need steady cash flow? Don't take stock losses. NRIA is making a special accommodation to help at this time. Under the new stimulus law, you can now borrow up to $100,000 without penalty from your 401k or IRA.
Guess who's back? Guess who just got reinstated? Well, not officially. That's my favorite. Is that a what is that a Geico commercial? What commercial is that, doctor? It says, guess who just got reinstated? Well, not officially. He says, scared? The guy goes, yeah. So am I. Don't worry though, we'll figure it out. You're the fucking doctor. How about Blondie Rapture? But I'm going to go right to the rap on that one. All right, we got Blondie queued up, everybody. Again, the link to the solvent traps I'm sending it right now. There you go. LAFOauto.com. LAFO Auto. Gotta play the rap part. Have to turn the mic on so that I don't get nailed. I said, don't get nailed, and I almost had it on the air. There. KFI AM640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Streaming, by the way, the Dark Secret Play, streaming at unsheepyourself.com. Yeah, you can't play this song without playing the rap break. It's kind of missing the point. And there you go, Dipper Herring. Blondie, Rapture, 19, wherever it was. All right, true story. What the Chinese are doing right now, the way they're manipulating the World Health Organization is reminiscent of what happened when Yuri Gagarin became the first man in space. What the Chinese are doing is this thing where they intimidate the WHO by saying, we are really, really, really transparent. You want transparency? Look it up in a dictionary. There's a picture of us. We're transparent. And since they bought and paid for the director of the WHO, Dr. Tedros, he was the guy who came out and said, "Oh yeah, China's been very, very transparent," when it's blatantly obvious that they have not been. And that's not just Trump saying it; it's Italy saying it, Spain saying it, England, France, everyone's saying it. And the Chinese are using this old tactic that the Soviets perfected, where you browbeat the international organization until into submission, and then when they endorse whatever it is you want them to say or endorse, then you point to them and go, see, they're endorsing it. To wit, 12 April 1961, Yuri Gagarin launches from Star City, Russia, and orbits the Earth. They didn't do what we did, where we sent Alan Shepard, quote, downrange to the Bahamas. He didn't orbit, and then Gus Grissom. They didn't orbit. They just went into space, came back down 15 minutes later. Gagarin, first time out, he orbited, right? And it was a shock. Almost as big of a shock as Sputnik, first man-made object in orbit. But Gagarin, first man in space, right? Well, to certify that, and the Soviets wanted it certified, they had to go to Paris to la Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. Now, these are the guys, the FAI, that if you set an aviation record, Charles Lindbergh, or the X-15, they set criteria for like land speed record, world aviation speed record. Okay, there has to be a closed course of 5 kilometers. We have to have witnesses there. You can't just call them and say, "Oh yeah, well, we just went to the Mach 9. It was pretty cool. It should have been there." You can't do that. You have to provide the telemetry, and all that. And the Russians know that drill. And because they had some records, the MiG-25 had some records, but they played by the rules. Well, back in 1961, the rules were you will be the first, your country will be the first to put a man in space if the occupant of the craft, if the craft takes off under its own power, it can't be slung under a wing, and then take off at 40,000 feet. It must leave the Earth under its own power. It must go higher than 50 miles, whatever space is. Then it must return to Earth with the pilot, occupant, cosmonaut, astronaut inside. They're pretty clear about that. You got to go up in that thing. You got to come back down in that thing. If that thing goes into space, then you, my friend, are the first man in space. So the Russians had a problem with this. Yuri Gagarin ejected. A lot of people don't know this, but Gagarin ejected at about 23,000 feet. The reason being, if the Russians had to engineer a capsule that could deploy enough parachutes to slow him the hell down and not become a pancake in Kazakhstan, it would have taken months, possibly years longer. And they said, well, what's the quick and dirty way? And they said, well, say goodbye to the capsule. He punches out at 23,000 feet. He's already in the spacesuit. The Russians had great ejection seats and always have. They actually do care about their pilots because they're a significant investment. So they said, all right, screw it, punch him out. So Gagarin ejects at 23,000 feet. He didn't land in the capsule. There's no footage of him like crawling out of the capsule, perfect socialist man, flexing or anything like that. And it became, a couple months later when Titov did it, it became obvious what was going on. And the Russians weren't transmitting. They weren't broadcasting, the transmissions. And Gagarin was told not in any way, shape, or form to transmit to Star City. Yeah, I'm under my parachute. I'm in my seat. And I see Kazakhstan coming up at me and all. Not do that. So they get to Paris, and the officials at the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale said, "Yeah, where's the telemetry? Where? Show us where he landed in the capsule." And the Russians said, "What are you talking about? He's the first man in space. You saw that, right? You see that video of him. You can hear his voice. You can see he broadcast TV images back to Russia. The Americans saw his altitude. Everyone saw his altitude. There's no doubt that he was in that capsule. It went into orbit. It went around Earth. Then he came back to Earth. Look, there he is, right there. Give us the record." And the FAI finally said, "All right, just shut up. There's the door." And from that point forward, when someone said, "Did Gagarin eject?" they said, "We got the record, didn't we?" They gave us the record. The plaque is in Star City. So don't ask us if he ejected. We wouldn't have gotten the record if he had ejected. Now, would we have? I mean, it's the criteria that he has to land in the capsule. What a dumb question. That's what they did. And that was their MO. Because had they said, well, I think you'd have to define eject, whatever, if they'd said, well, yeah, he ejected, then they would have said, then that's not the record. Sorry, you got to engineer a capsule that the guy can return to Earth in. And the Russians couldn't trust their Navy. They couldn't do what we do. They just couldn't guarantee that he would make it. And they had a couple guys get squished when their retro rockets failed and they hit Kazakhstan at Mach 2. Very bad scene. But back then they were like, screw it. Let's have them just eject. Let's save about 4,000 pounds in parachutes and just have them eject. But no one had thought of that. And so what they did was they put their old tactic into effect, and the FAI said, all right, you guys get the record. Well, that is what the Chinese are doing right now as we speak with the WHO. They're so mortified by this. So not only do they have a Manhattan Project underway to develop a vaccine, because the only way that they can polish this turd is if they are first to market with a vaccine, and then they give it to the world. And the whole thing. So I wouldn't want to be a Uyghur political prisoner right about now, because I'll be in one of two double-blind studies about a COVID vaccine. But the Chinese are dead set on making up for lying to the world about the virulence and the contagiousness of COVID by coming up with the cure. And they want to do it before American private enterprise, the private sector, before Bill Gates does it or anyone does it. Because that would mortify them. There are scientists being yanked out of universities around the world, brought back to China to make that vaccine. They're throwing enough research scientists and virologists at the problem that they want to be the first in the world with a vaccine. And then it's kind of the Nazi concentration camp experiment thing. Is it moral to take the vaccine? You know? That's the thing, is they're saying this can't embarrass us. We need to have a no crap, hands down, slam dunk vaccine. You can't grow tentacles. You can't grow bat wings. None of that. And that's why they're going to test that vaccine to the last Uyghur. That's why right now I don't want to be one of those guys. All right, back in a second. A NATO Navy on its knees because of the COVIDs all over their aircraft carrier right after this. The Dark Secret Place streaming at unsheepyourself.com. Back in a second. KFI live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news. There you go. Great Gagarin story. Isn't that a great story? Let me see if I can do that. My Manfrotto tripod fell off of the frenulator. So third hour, I'm ending this at 10 and replaying the January 25th CDC final report from 2021. So there's that. Let me get back to the text. How do we know the Chinese don't already have a vaccine and are holding it to an opportune time? I think by default, if they had a vaccine, they would come to the rescue, because this is what they want more than anything else right now. Is okay, we caused it, but look, we cured it. The Americans just sat there complaining. You know, we developed a vaccine. You know, I mean, this literally, they have 24 research labs, hundreds of scientists working 24 hours a day. But the thing is, though, you can't speed up a vaccine. You know, but the Chinese don't have an FDA. They kind of do, but it's not at all like the American Food and Drug Administration. I mean, look at some of the dog food scandal, when they were poisoning our dogs. They don't have anything even close to the FDA. So, which is ironic because the Chinese and the Indians are the ones who make all the pharmaceuticals in the world. The the Chinese nightmare scenario is that the Americans start making shit. They're terrified that this is a watershed moment and that we bring manufacturing back to the U.S. But of course, the reason that it's in China is because they don't have a minimum wage, you know?
As schools close and we embrace social distancing, parents everywhere are struggling to keep children healthy and occupied. Consistency and structure are calming during times of stress.
Yeah, Timmy Nolan's, that sucks. Timmy Nolan's was great. The new place has this bizarro, like, it's still supposed to be an Irish pub with a fucking vegan menu and a bunch of wine. I don't know what went wrong that the guy couldn't make Timmy Nolan's make money. But the new place is going to be, it's probably closed already. But it's stupid. But then again, when Tom Bergen closed on Fairfax, that was a sad day. But Musso and Frank is still open. All right, I'm going to play my Public Enemy bumper.
Well, yo, right now, kick the bass for them brothers and let them know what goes on. Rolling Stones left in the... While we was in the car on our way to the shop.
All right, I am Q-Ed up.
Thank you to all the businesses doing their part to make this difficult time a little better for all of us.
So the Jordan doc is about his last 2 seasons in the NBA?
No, just the last season. Well, last season in Chicago.
Ralph's is now hiring, with immediate openings available to help keep our stores open and stocked. Apply today at jobs.ralphs.com.
So season 3 of Fauda is out, by the way, on Netflix, and it's phenomenal. I've been binging till like 1 a.m. Yeah, have you started season 3? It's funny. There's a buddy of mine who does security at my friend's Jewish school in Beverly Hills, and I asked him. I said, it seems like they give up a lot of tactics, techniques, and procedures. And he said, not really. Dressing as a Palestinian telecom guy, he said the FBI does that. He goes, nah, they really don't. I'm really amazed. Yeah, and that's what a lot of Arab sources say is, it shows that we're not all dicks, and it shows that we have a point of view.
Well, yo, right now, kick the bass for them brothers and let them know what goes on. Rolling Stones left in that wagon. Looks bigger than Jack
KFI M640, it is the Dark Secret Place. Brian sits in here until 11. Hour number 3, we're going to replay the January 25th fictional sort of War of the Worlds scenario where I was reading, this is January 25th of this year. I was reading a fictional CDC final report on the 2020 COVID outbreak in Los Angeles and California. And so I'll replay it because it is, it's available on iHeart Radio and all that, but some people have been requesting that I play it now, the 3-month mark, since I put that up, just so you can hear. There's some, I'm wrong about quite a few things, but nevertheless, I stand by that. And again, it was January 25th. So the French have a nuclear aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, right? And France has always had a very independent foreign policy. And in fact, when they developed nuclear weapons, de Gaulle actually left the NATO nuclear command structure because as Britain had nukes and then France had nukes, the idea that was that all nuclear NATO nations, which is us, and then the UK and France, would coordinate nuclear retaliation, nuclear release, and all that. And de Gaulle said, no, we have a independent French foreign policy. So they've always had a carrier, because that is an instrument of foreign policy, and not just any carrier, but a real carrier. The British have relaunched, they've commissioned 2 new carriers, but they're vertical takeoff. They're for the F-35B, the VTOL, the vertical takeoff version of the F-35. Not a proper carrier with catapults. Proper carriers have catapults so that you can, aircraft fully laden with armaments and fuel can take off, like F-14s that used to be on there, or A-6s. Now F-18Es and Fs, full of gas, full hard points, full of weapons, the whole thing. And then when the aircraft come back, they lower a tail hook, the landing gear, and they arrest on one of 4 arresting wires. The French have a carrier just like that. In fact, it's so interoperable with the U.S. Navy that the French every year do an exercise with whatever American carrier is in the Med. The Charles de Gaulle is either there or in the Atlantic. And they do an interoperability exercise where the American carrier sends 2, 3, 4 F-18s and maintenance teams, and our planes land on the Charles de Gaulle. They trap wire number 3, whatever is perfect, the whole thing. Then they take off from the nose catapult because the French have the same identical fittings on their catapult. There's a little T-handle on the steerable nose wheel. It drops down, it hooks into a little channel, and off you go. And then the French send some of their Rafale to the American carrier, and they also send maintenance crews. And so what both sides do is they send their aircraft to the other one's carrier. Then one of the planes goes below decks, and a crew will change the engine. So they'll show that they can do simple maintenance, as well as they can interoperate with the U.S. Navy and all that. The French are very proud of this, okay? Well, here's the problem with the Charles de Gaulle. It's got the COVIDs. So they're not entirely sure where. It hasn't made a port call anywhere like the Roosevelt made a port call to Vietnam, and that's where they got the COVIDs. But there weren't any reported cases in Vietnam at the time. However, they don't know and they don't care where the de Gaulle got the COVIDs. But there's more COVIDs than cheese all over the de Gaulle. So it is in port. And the crew is now quarantined. And the crew includes, by the way, 4 Americans. So they haven't tested the entire crew. I think by now, this report was 2 days ago. I think by now they've tested the entire crew. 2 of the 4 Americans were tested positive 2 days ago. But they're going to just quarantine everybody. And it's not as big as an American carrier, but it's still about 2,900 French sailors. And so, keep in mind that the U.S., so we have over a dozen carrier strike groups, but at any one time, 1/3 of them are in overhaul or refit. 1/3 are either getting ready for a deployment or recovering from a deployment. And then 1/3 are out at sea on deployment. Okay, that's how we, it's a lot of wear and tear on that. So that's why for us, the Roosevelt goes down and it leaves the entire Pacific to just one other carrier group, and that's the USS Ronald Reagan group out of Yokosuka, Japan. So that's why the Roosevelt, it's a national priority to get that crew out of quarantine, back on that boat, and send that thing back out on patrol, because we kind of look like D's. We look like we're an incompetent Navy, and the Chinese are taking notes on this. By the way, the continuous bomber presence at Guam, which has been going on for about 15 or 20 years, either B-1Bs, B-52s, or B-2s rotate through Guam. That's over. As of 2 days ago, kind of a surprising development. The current crop of B-52s that were there have flown back to Minot, North Dakota. By the way, their call signs were SIA 01, SIA 02, SIA 03, etc. There was 5 of them. The Air Force and Pacific Command rather abruptly announced that the continuous bomber presence program is now done from Guam. So no idea really why. The U.S. Air Force pointing out that, hey, we can get anywhere from Whiteman Air Force Base or Minot, anywhere in the world. We can get anywhere in the world from the UK, from Japan. We're pulling the bombers back. We're not going to have a forward presence at Guam. So not quite sure what the reason for that is. All right. The January 25th, 2021 final report, CDC final report. A time machine will magically take us forward to the summer of 2021, and I will read the final report on the great coronavirus outbreak of 2020 in California. All right, that is hour number 2 of the Dark Secret Place. Stay tuned for this groundbreaking show that some say should be nominated for certain brown nosy sort of radio awards that I never submit crap to. Back with that right after this. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Yeah, I never submit shit to those stupid radio awards. I prefer to get ratings. Isn't that weird? All right. I will see you tomorrow for Super Hyper Local Sunday. Thank you, everybody, for watching here on the YouTube. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.